5 days until training camp for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell, I've said it 700 times today. I'm very excited that we are less than a week to players putting on helmets and getting out there and practicing. Also, we do have to ask our question of the day. We end the show on Fridays with making our picks, so I thought we'd do our question of the day right here, right now. Question for the Panthers. What are they dealing with in the NFC South? What are they dealing with in the division? In a NFL where teams go worst to first all the time, in an NFL where one injury can change everything in a division, what are they dealing with the opponents that they will face twice? And we'll go in order from, I would say, most scary, and scary is the wrong term, but like most formidable opponent, the one that I think will be best, down to worst. And we're not talking Panthers here. We're talking their rivals. We're talking the teams that if you can get their number, becomes a mental edge that you can hold for decades. Right? Think about how the Buffalo Bills basically had to wait until the Patriots were done with their reign until they had to wait until the Patriots were done with their dynasty to take over. Now they've been good ever since, right? You can keep that kind of mental edge over a team. I'll start with this. Tampa Bay has won the division 4 straight years. I mean, that was one of those facts that I knew, but still was like, really? 4 straight years? That means 2 years with Tom Brady, and they transitioned to Baker Mayfield and did not miss a year, and they now have won 2 with Baker Mayfield. And their actions, like I like to, talk is cheap, as everybody knows. Actions say more about what you think about your team. Their actions tell me they feel really good about themselves, right? The Bucks are confident. You know how I know?
They drafted another wide receiver in the first round?
Exactly. They're drafting luxuries in the first round, right? Emeka Egbuka, by the way, really good player. I am nerdy about the NFL draft. I thought he was kind of easily the third best wide receiver in the draft, and closer to the top 2 than most people think, and that's Travis Hunter and Tedero McMillan, depending on what you think of Travis Hunter's role as a receiver or defensive back. Egbuka is really good. Don't get me wrong. The Bucks do not need a wide receiver. They have Mike Evans, future Hall of Famer, one of the most steady Eddie consistent wide receivers in the history of the game. 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, book it. They also had Chris Godwin, who signed a huge discounted deal to stay with Tampa Bay. There are some reports he turned down $30 million extra dollars the rumors were the Patriots were ready to offer him to stay in Tampa Bay because he likes it there and likes the players and feels comfortable and likes the area and all those sorts of things. And then on top of that, they had one of the steals at the wide receiver position in the draft last year in Jalen McMillan, which kind of lets you jump to the other side and go like, all right, we already got our young guy to develop alongside these old guys. So when they age out, we have McMillan to slide in there. But they went, nah, we don't have any other pressing needs. We'll take another receiver. Emeka Egbuka was not a need. They drafted him anyway. That's the flex of their front office saying, our roster's so complete, we're going to win the division. We can let this guy marinate for a year or two and not get the value right away. Or if we do get the value, it'll be as, the slot receiver on 4 wide receiver sets. Or when these other guys get tired. When Mike Evans has caught 2 40-yard passes in the half, so he's a little winded, we'll put in Egbuka. So, yes, even with Baker Mayfield, who – by the way, is having like a real hype moment. He was picked as one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league by the anonymous front office executives, coaches, and scouts that ESPN polled. There's some reports that they're already considering or already talking about what a huge contract extension would look like for Baker Mayfield after this year when he has 1 year left on the 3-year, $100 million deal he signed. Like there's a lot of positivity around the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At some point, some of their guys are going to start getting old, but they push off Father Time as good as anybody. Guys like Levante David. Levante David's been like racking up 100 tackles a season since I was in middle school. Kind of has that. He was this is going to frustrate. London Fletcher kind of has that London Fletcher feel when he was with Washington, of just like been around forever. He's going to end up on a whole bunch of, all-time tackles lists, but probably a step short of the Hall of Fame, but just there year in and year out. So Tampa, I think, is the odds-on favorite to win the division. They've won 4 straight. What do you expect? Next up, as far as looking at the NFC South and what the Panthers have to deal with, Atlanta. I agree with the booing, but they're also in the same spot they've been like probably 6 times in my life. I feel like Atlanta always has just a ton of potential, and they've put it together maybe once. Right, the 28-3 year. That feels like the one year they kind of put it all together. But looking at their offense, now that Michael Penix has taken over as quarterback, they have a top 8 pick in the last 5 drafts at quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Think about how high our expectations are for Tedoroa McMillan, right? He was the 8th pick in the draft. They have a top 8 pick at every skill position. They got to put it together now, right? Because one of them is Kyle Pitts. He has the same amount of touchdowns as like Tommy Tremble. And that's no disrespect to Tommy Tremble, but, they aren't exactly given the same opportunities as a pass-catching tight end. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. All top 8 picks. Left tackle, former first-rounder. Right tackle, former first-rounder. Left guard, former first-rounder. Both corners, first-rounders. They just used 2 first-round picks this draft on edge rushers. Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., both from the state of North Carolina. We know them very well.
Oh, yeah.
They traded away an unprotected first-round pick in next year's draft to draft James Pierce Jr. towards the end of the first round this year. It is wildly gutsy to trade away an unprotected first-round pick. If you don't know why, ask the Panthers. Because they traded away what the pick that ended up being Caleb Williams in the Bryce Young trade, number 1 overall. If the Falcons deal with a couple injuries, that pick could be a horrendous trade. Or if they just don't put it together. If guys... they go more Kyle Pitts than Bijan Robinson as far as developing their stars. They could be in for a rough one. So Atlanta is still a team you have to take seriously because of all the talent they have, like measurables, big, tall, strong, fast guys. But I still think there's not more than like a 25% chance they actually put it together and reach their ceiling. So it's not 0, but it's not exactly the scariest team in the league. And then the third team to pay attention to, the New Orleans Saints. They are a mess. They are a mess, but I actually think the opinion has gotten a little carried away with how low everybody thinks of their roster. They are doing a bit of, they have to take their medicine after kicking so many contracts into the future over and over and over again cap-wise. But there's really one giant question on the roster, and it's quarterback. Right now that Derek Carr has retired, is it Spencer Rattler? Is it Tyler Shuck? Who's going to end up being their quarterback? Is it, I don't know, on third downs, Taysom Hill? There's the quarterback is a massive question mark, and that is a position that you simply do not want to have be the biggest question on your roster. But the rest of their roster isn't as gruesome. I'm not complimenting it. I'm not saying it's good. But it is kind of like if everybody says they're on a scale of 1 to 100, they're a 2, they might actually be like a 30. Like I'm not saying they're good, but like Chris Olave is good when healthy. Alvin Kamara is fighting off father time at the running back position as good as anybody not named Derrick Henry. Cam Jordan, I talk about fighting off father time. Seems to, I saw a video of him working out. He was doing some field work, some drills. I'll tell you this, he's getting older. He looked stiff, a little bit of lurch running around out there. But on game day, I'm sure he'll find a way to, get the oil the Tin Man used and get those joints moving, and he'll come up with, 8 or 9 sacks, just kind of like a veteran that knows what he's doing will do. Brandon Cooks comes in. Rashid Shaheed comes in. Juwan Johnson as a pass-catching tight end. They've got some stuff there. Again, I don't think it's good, but if the Panthers treat the Saints like they are some kind of FCS program, and you're just going to march in there and get 2 wins, and all right, we're what's their over-under 6.5? Like, we're about 2/3 of the way to our over-under because we played the Saints twice. Like, they'll catch you one time.
And they split this past season, which might, like I said, might happen again this year. Split.
Gosh, I hope you don't have anything close to that first game of the season.
Oh gosh, that was awful.
Remember Derrick Carr was everyone's MVP for like 20 minutes just off of what he did to the Carolina Panthers. A year later, he's retired.
Everyone's like, oh man, they're looking good.
Then
they lose to the Panthers and the coach gets fired.
It was the first 3 games of the year. Like, I'm not joking. Derrick Carr was climbing up MVP list.
Oh, for sure.
And then the wheels fell off in a big way, which might be like they might have a 3-game stretch next year where they're good. That might be the better way to describe it. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they'll have a bunch of upsets. There might be a 3-game stretch where things click and they play well. So you got to take them seriously, as if that 3-game stretch might out of the blue be when they're playing against you. So I still think they're a distant 4th in the division, but the Panthers aren't good enough to take anybody for granted.
No.
And I think the NFC South, at the risk of this being played back for me at the end of the year and a lot of ha-has, I think they'll surprise some people around the league. I don't know if they are the laughingstock of a division that they've been in the past. Again, a lot of that depends on the Bucs continuing to improve and the Falcons getting something out of their first-round draft picks all over the place, and the Panthers, taking the next step.
I mean, let's not forget, they split with Atlanta last year, they split with the New Orleans, and they also went into overtime with Tampa last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's not like they're not the dregs of the division anymore.
Absolutely not. The question is how much is the NFC South the dregs of the NFL?
Well, that's a different conversation.
But which I'm saying, I think they're all going to rise a little bit. They might stay kind of even. They might have a bunch of close games, but I think their competitive division games will be some percentage like better quality football. We talk about it all the time. Competitive games don't necessarily mean quality games.
No.
You can be equally bad and go to overtime and have a classic.
Sure.
Or you can be equally good and go to overtime and have a classic. That's what you want in your division. You want those games to be real, callous building, battle testing games that get you ready for the competitive games at the end of the year.
Tofu wants to know.
Who's this? Tofu?
On our YouTube live chat. Tofu.
All right, shout out Tofu.
Tofu wants to know, do you think 10 wins is over expectations for the Carolina Panthers this season? Tofu also says he thinks the Panthers are going to have 10 wins this year, but also wants to know if he's overestimating them, in your opinion. 10 wins.
Yes, that's as far as expectations, right? Expecting means like that's what I think is going to happen. That's a likely scenario. 10 wins is too many. They're over-under. Like I said, it's at 6.5. They won 5 last year.
I think last year was set at 4.5, I think.
It's a steady grind. Barring like one specific set of circumstances, which is new coach, new quarterback, and you hit on both in a big way, it is very difficult to jump from like, a 6-win team to a 10, 11, 12-win team. And even the bigger jumps are more difficult. Like you look at Washington last year, they kind of jumped in a big way, but new coach, and they hit on their quarterback in Jaden Daniels in a big way. Bryce Young is still here. Bryce Young, obviously, you want him to play better, but I think it's going to be incremental, right? You want him to take a step forward from the end of last year. I don't know if it's even fair to expect him to go from like what he did last year to top 5 quarterback in the league. It's not fair to expect that. Dave Canales, you want him to get better, right? And he's not a guy with a lot of head coaching experience like Washington hired. I think expectations 7, hoping 8, 9, fever dream if everything goes great, if Teteroa McMillan is the second coming of Jerry Rice, if Damani Richardson turns into like Peanut Tillman and gets his hands on the ball 100 times, 10, 11, but you don't want to expect that. I think what you're doing, by the way, as a fan, go nuts with what you like want and hope for. I just think you'd be setting yourself up for a likely disappointment if you go in expecting 10 wins.
I'm in that 7-8. I feel like 7-8.
I think 7 as an expectation is fair. You're hoping for 8, 9 as like we got to get a couple breaks, right? You win an overtime game or two, 7-8, and then anything beyond that is, your team of destiny stuff, and you start really looking around going like, is this happening? You enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but expecting that, I think, is setting yourself up for disappointment. I think if you expect 7 or 8, you win 10, that's awesome. There's no complaints there. But if you expect 10, you win 7 or 8, it's going to feel like a disappointment when it really should feel like you're moving in the right direction.